Welcome to Chicago Reacts. Today we'll be reacting to George Carlin's Euphemisms. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to see more of our content.
It's worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse. I'll give you an example of that. There's a condition in combat, most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language, 2 syllables, shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves. That was 70 years ago. Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. 4 syllables now, takes a little longer to say, doesn't seem to hurt as much. Fatigue is a nicer word than shock. Shell shock. Battle fatigue. Then we had the war in Korea in 1950. Madison Avenue was riding high by that time, and the very same combat condition was called operational exhaustion. Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. And the humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase. It's totally sterile now. Operational exhaustion. Sounds like something that might happen to your car. Then, of course, came the war in Vietnam, which has only been over for about 16 or 17 years. And thanks to the lies and deceit surrounding that war, I guess it's no surprise that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And the pain is completely buried under jargon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll bet you if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. I'll bet you that.
Hey. Kind of sad that that's where the bureaucracy kind of stopped. They're like, PTSD, nailed it, guys.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, we can call that PTSD. Nailed it.
All day.
Let's write that one off. Go home.
That's postmodernism for you.
One of the reasons is because we were using that soft language, that language that takes the life out of life. And it is a function of time. It does keep getting worse. Give you another example. Sometime during my life, toilet paper became bathroom tissue. I wasn't notified of this. No one asked me if I agreed with it. It just happened. Toilet paper became bathroom tissue.
That's still toilet paper
Sneakers
to me,
became
so.
running shoes. False teeth became dental appliances. Medicine became medication. Information became directory assistance. The dump became the landfill. Car crashes became automobile accidents. Partly cloudy became partly sunny. Motels became motor lodges. House trailers became mobile homes. Used cars became previously owned transportation. Room service became guest room dining. And constipation became occasional irregularity. When I was a little kid, if I got sick, they wanted me to go to the hospital and see the doctor. Now they want me to go to a health maintenance organization or a wellness center to consult a healthcare delivery professional. Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities.
Urban planning. Oh, God.
And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're fucking broke.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were fired. You know, fired. Management wanted to curtail redundancies in the human resources area.
Yeah.
So many people are no longer viable members of the workforce. Smug, greedy, well-fed white people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that. The CIA doesn't kill anybody anymore. They neutralize people. Or they depopulate the area.
Yeah.
The government doesn't lie. It engages in disinformation.
Get very upset when
The
called out on
Pentagon
it, like
actually
other
measures
liars.
nuclear radiation and something they call sunshine units. Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? They never mention that part of it to us, do they? Never mention that part of it.
Call it out
And
all
some
you
of this
want.
stuff is just
The
silly.
Empire's
we
like,
all
oh,
know
that's
that. Like on the
entertaining.
airlines, they say they want a pre-board. Well, what the hell is pre-board? What does that mean? To get on before you get on? They say they're going to pre-board those passengers in need of special assistance. Cripples. Simple, honest, direct language. There's no shame attached to the word cripple that I can find in any dictionary. No shame attached to it. In fact, it's a word used in Bible translations. Jesus healed the cripples. Doesn't take 7 words to describe that condition. But we don't have any cripples in this country anymore. We have the physically challenged. Is that a grotesque enough evasion for you? How about differently abled? I've heard them called that, differently abled. You can't even call these people handicapped anymore. They'll say, we're not handicapped, we're handy-capable. These poor people have been bullshitted by the system into believing that if you change the name of the condition, somehow you'll change the condition. Well, hey, cousin, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. We have no more deaf people in this country, hearing impaired. No one's blind anymore, partially sighted or visually impaired. We have no more stupid people. Everybody has a learning disorder. Or he's minimally exceptional. How would you like to be told that about your child? He's minimally exceptional. Oh, thank God for that. Psychologists actually have started calling ugly people those with severe appearance deficits. It's getting so bad that any day now I expect to hear a rape victim referred to as an unwilling sperm recipient.
I feel like we're kind of there.
A little bit.
And we have no more old people in this country. No more old people. We shipped them all away, and we brought in these senior citizens. Isn't that a
Who can still
typically
work.
American 20th century phrase? Bloodless,
Apparently still in government.
lifeless. No
Definitely
pulse
can
in one
still
of
do
them.
government.
A senior citizen. But I've accepted that when I've come to terms with it. I know it's here to stay. We'll never get rid of it. That's what they're going to be called, so I'll relax on that. But the one I do resist, the one I keep resisting, is when they look at an old guy and they'll say, look at him, Dan, he's 90 years young. Imagine the fear of aging that reveals. To not even be able to use the word old to describe someone, to have to use an antonym. And fear of aging is natural, it's universal, isn't it? We all have that. No one wants to get old, no one wants to die, but we do. So we bullshit ourselves. I started bullshitting myself when I got to my 40s. As soon as I was in my 40s, I'd look in the mirror and I'd say, well, I guess I'm getting older. Older sounds a little better than old, doesn't it? Sounds like it might even last a little longer. Bullshit, I'm getting old. And it's okay, because thanks to our fear of death in this country, I won't have to die. I'll pass away.
Yeah. Wow.
Or I'll expire like a magazine subscription. If it happens in the hospital, they'll call it a terminal episode. The insurance company will refer to it as negative patient care outcome. And if it's the result of malpractice, they'll say it was a therapeutic misadventure. I'm telling you, some of this language makes me want to vomit. Well, maybe not vomit. Makes me want to engage in an involuntary personal protein spill.
Oh my god. Hilarious.
I don't know how I feel about all of it though, because I feel like I agree that there is definitely a bit of, it takes the humanity out of something to name it something that's very clinical.
Right.
You know
Clinical.
what I mean?
That's a good word.
I know that exists, and it really can hurt the overall how people view things. But also that I think the reasons why we stopped saying, like, calling like mentally handicapped people retarded.
Right.
The whole reason that we stopped doing that was because at some point people just started making fun of retarded people, right?
I mean, it became a pejorative
Yeah,
instead of
and
a clinical term.
so then the clinical term shifted to
Right.
something more clinical, something that maybe you could make fun of less.
Wow.
But then in that, I don't know. That's just in my head. That's what makes sense.
Yeah.
That it's always trying to be as precise as possible without inflicting harm upon someone else. But then the longer we live, the more people can just make fun of anyone for anything.
Yeah. I mean, I love George Carlin. But like, and this pains me to say, I feel like he did probably die miserable, like
Probably.
angry to the very end. Much in the way that I remember Hunter S. Thompson, who's one of my heroes, but he also was just like, wow, way to go, Empire, you beat me too. And it's like, that's also why I'm not caught up in the same desire. I don't want to end up like that, I guess.
That's not the way that's not.
But
the
I
best
think
way
to his
go.
point, though, I mean, like the problems that soldiers face from World War I to Vietnam War, soon to be Iraq War, 1 and 2, and Afghan War, like it's been the same problem, and they've kept changing the language to benefit basically the people that keep causing that problem, which I think has always been the heart of his messaging that people remember the most. But I think a lot of his shtick is also just stewing in the negativity. He was doing stand up, right? He wasn't trying there to flip the government over with his words, but because he could a little bit.
Well, and there's also something to be said about how like even an airtight world such as the United States and the imperialism of it has room for like intentionally creates room for George Carlin to make fun of it.
Right.
I mean, there's a place for that exists. George Carlin made money off of the idea of that, right? Which in some ways just inherently makes all of it worth it, right? Like, the system works because he made money making fun of the system.
Well, I mean, the system works for itself, I would say. I think that, again, everything they pointed out there was true then, is true now. One of the things I do appreciate, though, I think he speaks really accurately about American history, psychology, and how the public is herded and is willfully herded in directions. I do feel in the last 10 years, social media has made it so that magazines, TV shows, even cable news are not what they used to be. So I don't, it's a shame. I don't know what the George Carlin 50 years from now is going to be talking about, but I imagine it'd be a little bit about how the extremely rich and powerful are still doing everything they can to fool the masses.
Maybe it'll be Pete Davidson 50 years from now, just as an old man yelling about whatever.
Yeah.
Or Jim Jeffries, maybe.
I'd watch that.
I would watch that too.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you want to suggest things for us to react to, then put those in the comments. We'll react to them. See you later.